A week before my wedding, I stood at the gates of my own cottage and felt like a stranger. The sky was soft and golden, the kind of evening that should have felt romantic. My wedding dress was hanging safely in my closet inside that house. The garden I had carefully designed was finally blooming. The fairy lights were already installed along the fence for the celebration dinner we planned after the ceremony. Everything was supposed to be perfect. But as I pushed the gate open, I froze. There were unfamiliar shoes near the entrance. Loud laughter echoed from inside. Suitcases were stacked in the hallway, and someone had rearranged the furniture in my living room. I stepped inside slowly. My future mother-in-law was sitting on my cream-colored sofa, sipping tea from my favorite porcelain cup. His sister was scrolling through her phone at my dining table. His younger brother was lying on the couch, watching television as if he owned the place. I stood there in shock. "Excuse me, what is going on?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. My mother-in-law smiled casually. "Oh, you're back. We decided to move in early. It's closer to the wedding venue, and it makes everything easier." "Move in," I repeated. My fiancé, Daniel, walked out of the kitchen at that moment. He looked slightly nervous but forced a smile. "I was going to tell you, but everything happened so fast." "So fast," I whispered. "The wedding is in a week. Why are they living here?" His sister shrugged. "We can't keep traveling back and forth. It's too expensive, and this house is big enough." Big enough. That word echoed in my mind. Yes, it was big. Because I bought it, with my own savings, after years of working overtime, skipping vacations, and building my career from the ground up. This cottage wasn't just a house. It was my independence, my achievement, my safe place. And suddenly, it didn't feel safe at all. I pulled Daniel aside. "Why didn't you ask me?" "They're my family," he replied quietly. "It's just for a week. Without my permission, they assumed it was fine." "They assumed," he sighed. "You're going to be part of this family soon. We share things." Share. The word felt heavier than it should have. That night, I couldn't sleep. I heard footsteps in the hallway. Cabinets opening and closing. Someone laughing loudly at midnight. My kitchen smelled different in the morning because his mother had cooked something strong and spicy. The next day, I discovered more changes. My home office had been turned into his brother's temporary bedroom. My carefully organized pantry was rearranged. My wedding decorations were opened without asking. When I gently mentioned it, his mother waved her hand dismissively. "We're just helping, dear. You should be grateful." Grateful for losing control over my own home. Over the next few days, things escalated. His sister invited her friends over without telling me. His brother left dirty dishes in the sink. His mother criticized my furniture choices and suggested that after the wedding, we should consider renovating in a more traditional style. Every time she said, "we," my chest tightened. One evening, I overheard something that changed everything. I was walking down the hallway when I heard my mother-in-law speaking to Daniel in the kitchen. "This house is perfect," she said. "After the wedding, we'll stay here permanently. There's enough space for all of us. Why waste money renting our old apartment?" My heart stopped. Daniel didn't object immediately. He hesitated. "Well, we'll see," he said. That hesitation felt like betrayal. I walked into the kitchen. "Stay permanently." They both turned to look at me. "Yes," his mother replied confidently. "We are family. Families live together." I looked at Daniel. "Is that what you want?" He avoided my eyes. "It makes sense financially." Financially. As if my emotional comfort had no value. "As if this house belongs to everyone," I said quietly. "It will," his mother responded. "Once you're married." I felt something shift inside me. A clarity, a cold realization. Before the engagement, Daniel had always respected my independence. He admired my success. He told me he loved that I was strong. But now, a week before the wedding, my boundaries were being tested. Pushed. Ignored. That night, I sat alone in the garden, staring at the fairy lights. I thought about the years I spent building my life. I thought about how hard I worked to afford this cottage. I thought about my dream of creating a partnership built on respect. And I asked myself one question. If I can't protect my space now, what will happen after the wedding? The next morning, I made a decision. I called a lawyer. The cottage was entirely in my name. I had purchased it long before I met Daniel. Legally, no one could claim it without my consent. That afternoon, I asked everyone to gather in the living room. "I need to clarify something," I began calmly. "This house belongs to me. I understand that you wanted to stay for the wedding week, but there has been a misunderstanding." His mother crossed her arms. "You are guests," I continued. "And guests ask before making changes." Silence filled the room, and after the wedding, I added, "No one will live here permanently unless I agree." His sister rolled her eyes. His brother muttered something under his breath. Daniel looked embarrassed. "So you don't accept us?" his mother demanded. "I accept respect," I replied. "Not assumptions." The tension was unbearable. Finally, Daniel spoke. "Mom, maybe we should go back to the apartment after the wedding." Her face hardened. "So you're choosing her over your family?" He hesitated again. That hesitation was the final answer I needed. I looked at him and realized something painful. A marriage is not just about love. It's about boundaries, about loyalty, about standing beside your partner even when it's uncomfortable. And Daniel wasn't standing beside me. He was standing in between. That evening, I asked him to talk privately. "I love you," I said honestly. "But I will not start a marriage feeling invaded in my own home." "It's just a compromise," he insisted. "No," I replied softly. "Compromise is mutual. This is pressure." He tried to convince me that things would change after the wedding. That his family would adjust. That I was overreacting. But deep inside, I knew this wasn't about 1 week. It was about the future. About holidays where decisions would be made without me. About financial choices influenced by others. About raising children in a house where I would never fully feel in control. And I refused to sacrifice my peace for the sake of appearances. 3 days before the wedding, I canceled it. The deposits were partially refundable. The guests were informed. The dress remained untouched in my closet. His family moved out that same evening, furious and offended. Daniel came to see me one last time. "You're throwing everything away," he said. "No," I answered quietly. "I'm protecting what I built." He left without another word. The house felt silent afterward. But it was my silence. My space. My choice. Weeks passed. The fairy lights were removed. The garden continued to bloom. Slowly, peace returned. Friends told me I was brave. Some said I overreacted. Others admitted they wished they had my courage before their own weddings. And sometimes, late at night, I wondered what would have happened if I had ignored the warning signs. But every morning, I woke up in my cottage, walked through rooms arranged exactly as I liked, and felt something stronger than regret. I felt freedom. A wedding lasts 1 day. A marriage lasts years. And a home should always feel like sanctuary, not sacrifice. Looking back, I realized the real shock wasn't that his family moved in without asking. It was that he allowed it. Love is important, but respect is essential, and I chose respect, even if it meant standing alone. Because sometimes, the bravest thing a woman can do a week before her wedding, is walk away. After Daniel walked out of my cottage for the last time, I stood by the window and watched his car disappear down the narrow street. The same street where we had once imagined welcoming guests, decorating for holidays, maybe even teaching our future children how to ride bicycles. Now it was just quiet. The silence felt heavy at first. Not peaceful, just empty. For the first few days, I moved like a ghost through my own home. The wedding invitations were still stacked neatly on the hallway table. The florist kept calling to confirm final details. The catering company asked about the updated guest count. Each phone call felt like reopening a wound. Canceling a wedding isn't just a decision. It's an announcement. It's explaining to relatives. It's hearing whispers. It's answering the same question over and over again: what happened? At first, I gave short answers. It just wasn't right. But as the days passed, I started being more honest. I realized I was about to lose myself. That honesty surprised people. Some nodded with understanding. Others looked uncomfortable, as if my choice challenged something in their own lives. A week after the canceled wedding, I finally allowed myself to cry properly. Not because I missed Daniel, but because I mourned the future I thought I would have. We had planned honeymoon destinations. We had argued about baby names playfully. We had designed a life in our imagination. Letting go of that dream hurt. But something else slowly began to grow inside me. Clarity. One afternoon, I found a small notebook where I had once written my goals before I even met Daniel. Travel alone to at least 5 countries. Expand my business. Take a cooking course in Italy. Start a mentorship program for young women in my industry. I realized something shocking. None of those dreams had anything to do with marriage. Somewhere along the way, I had quietly started adjusting my ambitions to fit into our future. I had begun to soften my independence to make space for compromise. And maybe that was natural in love. But the compromise had started feeling one-sided. 2 weeks after the breakup, Daniel called. "I think we made a mistake," he said. I asked gently. "I should have handled things better. Mom went too far." "I see that now." His voice sounded tired, almost defeated. "What do you want?" I asked. "I want another chance." I closed my eyes. The old version of me would have said yes immediately. The version that feared being alone. The version that believed love meant endurance at all costs. But I wasn't that woman anymore. "Daniel," I said calmly, "this wasn't about your mother. It was about you not choosing me when it mattered." Silence. "I was trying to keep peace," he whispered. "And I was trying to protect my peace," I replied. We talked for almost an hour. He admitted that his family had always been controlling. That he had grown up believing loyalty meant obedience. That standing up to them felt like betrayal. For the first time, I saw him clearly. He wasn't a villain. He was a man who hadn't learned boundaries. But it wasn't my responsibility to teach him at the cost of my own well-being. "I hope you figure it out," I said softly. "But I can't wait for you to become someone ready for partnership." When the call ended, I didn't feel anger. I felt release. The next month, I decided to renovate the house. Not because his mother criticized it, but because I wanted a fresh start. I painted the bedroom walls a soft shade of blue. I replaced the dining table with one that felt lighter, more open. I turned the guest room back into my home office and finally built the library wall I had always postponed. Every small change felt symbolic. I wasn't erasing memories. I was reclaiming space. Friends started visiting more often. We hosted movie nights, Sunday brunches. Laughter filled the house again, but this time, it felt invited. One evening, my closest friend sat with me on the patio under the fairy lights I had decided to keep. "Do you regret it?" she asked gently. I thought carefully. "I regret that it had to happen," I answered. "But I don't regret choosing myself." She smiled. "Most people don't realize they've lost themselves until years later." That sentence stayed with me. Months passed. I focused on work and unexpectedly received a promotion. With the raise came more responsibility, and more confidence. I began mentoring a young colleague who reminded me of myself years ago, ambitious, hardworking, but afraid to take up space. Helping her felt meaningful. One afternoon, she confessed, "I'm scared people will think I'm too demanding." I laughed softly. "Demanding respect is not demanding," I told her. "It's healthy." As I said the words, I realized I was speaking to my past self as well. Then, something unexpected happened. Daniel's sister reached out. I hesitated before answering her message. Curiosity won. She asked if we could meet for coffee. When we sat down, she looked different. Less defensive, almost apologetic. "I wanted to say I'm sorry," she began. We crossed lines. I stayed quiet. "Our mom, she's used to controlling everything. We didn't think about how it felt for you." I appreciated the honesty, even if it came late. "Why now?" I asked. She sighed. "Because Daniel finally moved out. He's renting his own place. He told Mom he needs to learn to stand on his own." That surprised me. "He's trying," she added. "I think losing you forced him to grow up." I didn't know how to feel about that. Part of me felt validated. Another part felt distant. Growth is beautiful, but sometimes it comes after damage that can't be undone. A year passed. The anniversary of the almost wedding came quietly. No dramatic sadness. No tears. Just reflection. I spent that day alone by choice. I cooked my favorite meal. Played music loudly. Sat in the garden with a glass of wine. I thought about the woman I had been 12 months earlier, anxious, pressured, trying to convince herself that discomfort was normal before marriage. And I compared her to who I was now, steady, self-assured, unapologetic about boundaries. The difference was undeniable. That evening, I received a message from Daniel. "Thank you," it read. Nothing else. I didn't reply, not out of bitterness, but because some chapters don't need continuation. Eventually, I did start dating again. Slowly, carefully, but this time, I asked difficult questions early. About family, about boundaries, about expectations. Some men felt uncomfortable with my directness. And that was fine. I wasn't looking for comfort. I was looking for compatibility. One night, during a quiet dinner with someone new, he casually said, "If my parents ever disrespected you, I'd handle it immediately." He didn't say it to impress me. He said it as if it were obvious. And that's when I understood something profound. The right kind of love doesn't require you to shrink. It doesn't ask you to surrender your home, your voice, or your hard-earned independence. It stands beside you naturally. Looking back now, I no longer see the cancelled wedding as a failure. I see it as protection. Protection from years of silent resentment. Protection from feeling like a guest in my own life. Protection from teaching future children that love means tolerating discomfort. The cottage still stands exactly where it always did. The garden blooms every spring. The fairy lights glow softly at night. But the woman living inside those walls is different. Stronger, wiser, unapologetically herself. And if there's one thing I learned from everything that happened, it's this. A wedding can be rescheduled. A venue can be changed. A dress can be returned. But self-respect, once surrendered, is much harder to reclaim. I almost traded mine for a ceremony. Instead, I chose myself. And that choice transformed not only my home, but my entire future.